Over 200 experts have shared their secrets to a successful business. Join me, Rose Davidson, as I discover how these experts took their businesses to the next level.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. Talking about all things business by business owners for business owners. Episode 259 with Brad Tornberg.
Originally, this program was designed to be delivered as an in-person program. In collaboration with one of the fitness facilities, I was going to come in and bring in the business fitness part of it. And they were going to bring to the table the personal fitness part of it. Meanwhile, I went out and I got my personal fitness certification anyway, because I figure if you're going to speak about personal fitness, you better be able to know what you're talking about. So it was all set to go that way. We even created a program whereby, the executive would come in the morning, he'd have a quick little 25, 35-minute workout. They'd shower up, we'd meet in a room. We'd go through a hot business topic for that week, and they would each get a bagged lunch, a bagged breakfast, a piece of fruit, some yogurt, something healthy, and go along their way and get back to work before their day starts. When the pandemic hit, that was when I decided that, I could put this course online.
Talking with the experts.
Hello, and are you looking to achieve peak performance in your personal life and your business life as well? Well, my next guest, Brad Tornberg, can help you with those things. Brad is a seasoned consultant who has helped many small to medium-sized business owners grow their profits, helping them select the right tools and operate at peak performance. Welcome, Brad, and thank you so much for joining me at some ungodly hour in the morning.
Thank you, Rose, for having me. I appreciate it. And it is early.
So firstly, let's touch a little bit on your book, which is around a business fitness revolution, and it looks at the physical and mental well-being of the C-level executive or business owner. Tell me how you came up with the concept and what exactly is in the book.
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. It started with me doing some consulting, hired by a C-level executive to take a look at his organization. And the first day that I was in there, what I noticed was he was extremely out of shape. He was sweating profusely, and it was the middle of winter. He had fried food on his desk that he was eating in front of him, and he was yelling and screaming at all of the people in his organization, and they looked very unhappy. Actually, they looked pretty miserable. And that's when I realized that the business owner is like the brain of the business, and how he communicates or doesn't communicate effectively is kind of like the central nervous system. So I wrote a blog article on that. And then I took it a little bit further, and I started to look at other parts of the business that are like systems. For example, the financial is the circulatory, how quickly money moves through the system, how good your cash flow is. The skeletal is the internal systems, right? It's things like your infrastructure and your computer systems and your HR systems. And your ears, how do you listen to what people are saying? And your stomach, how do you digest information? Because there's such an overwhelming amount of information that it became a chapter after a chapter. And eventually, each of the blogs, I turned them into more detail and turned it into a book. And then this past summer, I decided to extend it even more by creating an online course with 13 chapters of each, with workbooks and everything related to it. So it's been kind of an interesting journey, the way that it's kind of morphed itself. And what's even more interesting is that the interest is now coming from health and wellness, things like Blue Cross Blue Shield and the hospitals in the area that have their own gyms or their own fitness centers saying, hey, this would be a great program to incorporate for our executives. Plus, it'll also maybe bring in people from their organization as well. So the thing has kind of grown in a lot of different directions, but it's an interesting concept because what it does is it's looking at not only the business and the health of the business, but really the business is only as effective as its leader is. And if the leader's not healthy, the business can't be healthy. If the leader can't be focused at 100%, he can't be focused on his business 100%. So that's kind of how the concept evolved.
Yeah, Very interesting. Where can we get the book? Is it available on Amazon or bookstores, or
Yes,
where
it
is it?
is. It's on Amazon. It's The Business Fitness Revolution by Brad Tornberg, and you can get that. And again, you can reach out to me as well, and I can give you information on the course as well.
That would be lovely. Yeah, I'll put all the links in the chat, not in the chat, the show notes. That's what I was trying to say.
Great.
I'm having a bit of a senior moment.
Hey, I'm the one who's on the early side of the clock here.
Yeah, well, that's very true. That's very true. I'm just ending my day and you're just beginning. Yeah, so
Okay.
I guess you did have a little bit of a tragedy, during your life, and I don't want to touch on that too much, but you decided that that teaching others how to achieve their peak personal and business performance was a way that you could, I guess, give back to the world. So tell me what you actually do for your clients.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at what I do, my business basically provides operations and technology consulting. So I started out as a technology consultant, really helping businesses acquire and implement software solutions for their business, everything from manufacturers to retailers to accountants. And as I was working with those clients, they noticed that I was a lot more than a technology specialist, that I was one of those people who really has a very strong understanding of not only technology, but also a very, very strong understanding of business. Having, my dad being the owner of a manufacturing company, I kind of learned early on that entrepreneurial spirit and how to be a business owner. And that perspective really led a lot of my clients to say, hey, look, maybe you can help us in other areas. We're having some issues with getting the right people in the right roles. We're having issues with trying to source additional growth in our sales area. Can you help us grow our sales? So it's really kind of evolved over the last 30 years to what I am to this now. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that, I have to give back to people. If you read Brene Brown, she talks about being empathetic and leaning in and, diversity and inclusion and all of those things. So I've had to adjust who I am as well and the things that I do. So, now some of the things that I offer are, teams building and individual building, how to work effectively as a team, how to be empathetic. So as new concepts come out and as I continue to read and learn, I introduce those and infuse those into my programs. And each program is actually very different depending on what the needs are of the client. I'll go to some people who are like me. They get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and they work out every day. And then I've got others who say, oh, that'll never happen for me. But I could see that, in the middle of the day during one of our conversation, they're kind of dozing off because they have a carbohydrate load. So they're not really focused on what's going on. So I'll notice, I'll try to work with him on reducing his stress, things that are specific to him, because I notice that he has more of the requirement than maybe the business does. And sometimes it's the C-level executive or the business owner is very on top of things, but he's having problems with his business and he can't necessarily break through. So a lot of the focus may be on more of the business side of it. Or the people are not happy with what they are. I'll be working with the business owner in terms of how he could be more inclusive himself and how he can be more understanding when he's working with other people. So it becomes a whole potpourri of different things that we kind of bring to the solution front, but it's usually customized and unique to that client.
Yeah, well, as it should be too. You can't really just have a blanket solution for everyone because it doesn't fit everyone. And, each needs or each individual's or organization's needs are different from another person's or organizations. But how has the current health crisis globally affected how you deliver your programs?
Well, it's interesting. Originally, this program was designed to be delivered as an in-person program in collaboration with one of the fitness facilities. I was going to come in and bring in the business fitness part of it. And they were going to bring to the table the personal fitness part of it. Meanwhile, I went out and I got my personal fitness certification anyway, because I figure if you're going to speak about personal fitness, you better be able to know what you're talking about. So it was all set to go that way. We even created a program whereby, the executive would come in the morning, he'd have a quick little 25, 35-minute workout. They'd shower up, we'd meet in a room. We'd go through a hot business topic for that week, and they would each get a bagged lunch, a bagged breakfast, a piece of fruit, some yogurt, something healthy, and go along their way and get back to work before their day starts. When the pandemic hit, that was when I decided that, I could put this course online and it'll give me something to do while the pandemic is happening, so that when we come back to the real world again, or the normal world again, or what's quasi-normal again, that I'll be able to then have 2 program offerings, one online and then one in person. So if anything, it's actually encouraged me to create content. Having 13 chapters with 5 videos in each chapter, it cost me a lot of money to do it. But as I tell people, I'll never have to develop content again for as long as I'm living.
No, you won't. It's a credit to you to be able to do all of that 13 chapters and all those videos. It's I'm procrastinating on my course. It's the video part. It's not the writing. It's not the content. It's the videos.
Yeah, you know what? I actually I had a good year last year, even though we had the pandemic. Actually, on the technology side, it gave me a lot more business, because a lot of people, I do a lot of work in the supply chain, and obviously that's probably the biggest challenge that the world has right now. So every business that's having supply chain challenges reached out to me. So what I did is I took the profit I made on that, and I actually went out to the West Coast and had it professionally done, because they scripted it based upon meetings that we had on the book, and we went through each of the chapters. And by doing that, it actually made it a lot easier for me. I just basically had to show up and do what I do best, speak. So I kind of like that, so I was able to get it done quickly.
That's a great way of doing it. I think I don't, sometimes these do-it-yourself things aren't as
You never get them done.
No, it's always something else bright and shiny comes along.
Well, we're entrepreneurs. What can I tell you? That's the way we work.
Absolutely. Brad, where to from here for you?
I hate to say that I'm in the later stages of my life, but I consider that, this is the last quarter of the football game, right? Mm. My goals now are the kinder and gentler. I mean, I'm with Microsoft. I'm doing a lot of mentoring for a lot of their younger people that are coming up, and I'm realizing that, hey, it's kind of time for the new generation and their thoughts and what they're doing. So the one thing I've been good at, obviously having 3 younger daughters who are that age, is kind of understanding what they're looking for and what they're doing. So, the value that I can give is learn from my mistakes. I've made a lot of them in the course of my life, but I think I've got it right now. So the people that I'm working with they're like sponges. They listen intently and they want to learn. This new group of kids that are growing up now are much different than, I guess you would say, that millennial age where everyone stayed at home and lived with their mom and dad and saved money. This new generation, I don't know what it's called particularly, but
who cares? They're just a group of young people.
Yeah, Gen Z or whatever it is. But as my daughter said, we looked at the millennials and we don't want to live that way. We want to be successful like our parents were. So it's almost like it skipped a generation, and they now have that drive and that entrepreneurial spirit that, my generation had when we were starting out. So it's good to see that. And a lot of the advice and a lot of the things that I'm giving are about building a business, scaling your business, sticking with things, not quitting. Like I always tell people, they say they're an entrepreneur. I say, well, you're not an entrepreneur until you've eaten out of a can of SpaghettiOs 5 nights in a row for dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what sacrifice is all about, right? So it's really, to give back it's to be social, a little bit more socially involved and have a little bit more of a social footprint. And I talk about that in the course, that a business health is also having a heartbeat.
Have you been thinking about starting a podcast? You can share your knowledge and expertise with people globally. Create original content that is completely unique from anything else out in today's market, not just in terms of style, but also perspective. And when we talk about revenue generating potential, well, let me tell you, it doesn't stop there. The time to start is now. You know that you should be doing it. However, many people are reluctant because they don't know how to produce it or what tools they need to do their podcast. Please feel free to email me at guest@talkingwiththeexperts.com today. And let's talk about how I can help you to build authority and credibility for your business through podcasting. Remember, don't wait for the opportunity, create it.
Having not a circulatory system necessarily as well, but having a heartbeat. What impact are they making on their community? What things are they doing for the betterment of mankind? Being kinder and gentler. And I'll be honest with you, for me, it was kind of a shift because I grew up in the age where do the damn job or I'm going to fire you.
Yeah.
There was no let's work together and figure out why it's not working. It's like participation trophies. You're going to get one anyway. So not that that's not a good thing, because I think, if I would have grown up in that part of life, I would have probably felt much more inclusive of everything around me. And I've had to overcome, and I think a lot of us older folks have to overcome the way that we were raised and the way that we were weaned in business and in industry to what it is today. And there's a real there's like a chasm between the two, and you have to be able to adjust to it. And I think, like people say, Brad, you do a lot of different things. What are you really good at? And I said, well, you're looking at a guy who probably has the world's fastest learning curve, because everything that I do is always learning something new, and I have to learn it and ingest it quickly because it's a new concept. And I have to make it look like I really understand it well, and I'm an expert at it. So that means, coming up to speed on things and researching and reading and learning very, very quickly. And that's the advantage. Entrepreneurs say, what's the best one piece of advice you can give me? And I tell them, get your ass out of bed early. If you get your ass out of bed early at 4:00 in the morning, and you catch a half an hour workout, and some people then maybe meditate or, have some, they go to religion or whatever it is, have whatever it is that you do for yourself at that hour, and then come back and, bite the face off the world. That's what I do from 5 o'clock, 5:30 till 9 o'clock. The rest of the world is still getting organized. I've gotten more done in that 3.5, 4 hours than most people do in a day, which gives me the flexibility of how I want to now position my day and the things that I want to do. And things pop up as an emergency, I've gotten the things I needed to do out of the way. So, it's really about your own motivation and your own drive and the things that you want to do. But it's a discipline. And that's what I tell people. It's a discipline. When they say to me, when I talk to a business owner and he says, oh, there's just no way I could possibly get up at that hour. And I say, well, you know what? I bet you if you dragged your butt around for a couple of weeks, eventually one day you're going to wake up 10 minutes before you have to leave to go to the gym. And every day you're going to wake up at the same time. I wake up at the same time every day. And I go to bed probably the same time as most people do, maybe an hour earlier. But for the most part, my day is complete, but it's longer. And I think that's an important point to bring to people.
Yeah, it is. It is about, it's a lot to do with mindset. It's a lot to do with motivation, and it's a lot to do with your own feelings of self-worth and drive. I think you have to have that drive. To be an entrepreneur, you've got to have that drive. You have to have that spirit. You just have to have that go-to sort of, nothing should be a problem for you. If you find workarounds for everything.
Yeah, you do. And you're right about self-worth. I mean, I'll give you a good example of that. The morning I decide that my body's too sore, occasionally I have those mornings, and I am laying there in bed deciding whether I want to get up to go to the gym or not, right? And I'm rolling around. And then I finally said to myself, oh, damn, I'm going to either lay here and lament about it all day and then regret the fact that I didn't do it, or I can just get my butt up and I can just go and I'll feel better. And every time I do. And that also makes me feel better. Mentally.
You don't have that, you don't have that guilt. You don't have that feeling of guilt because I should have gone to the gym today, but I was too damn lazy and to do it. And, and then it wrecks your whole day.
Well, I have good parents who made me feel guilty, so that really rubbed off on me in a positive way.
Oh, Brad, any other books in the pipeline, or have you finished?
No, actually, the second book I'd like to write is I'd like to explore more of the business owner's mindset and his brain. So the next book I think is going to be called The Business Brain, The Business Owner's Brain. And it's really going
Good
to kind
book.
of dive into the business owner and the way they think and what their perspective is. Because one of the things I've noticed as a business owner who's had employees is that sometimes I'll dismiss something and just because I'm busy, I'll dismiss something, I'll say it's not important or whatever, I'll walk away from it. And then I'll notice that that person, it really upset them because what's important to other people is not necessarily important to me as the business owner. It doesn't make their feeling or their thought or their process any less important. It's just that right now I've got bigger things on my brain. So being sensitive to that, I think, is really important as well. So all of those things are really how the business owner perceives his people, how he reacts to his people, whether he's busy or not, he needs to react in a positive way to show that reinforcement. So what drives that? What drives the business mind? What are the things that are underneath it? What is it that makes an entrepreneur an entrepreneur? And what is it that makes a clerical worker a clerical worker?
If you can figure that out, then good on you.
Yeah, if I can figure that out, I can control the world. Me and Elon Musk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Brad, where can people find you if they'd like to work with you?
I'll give you my US phone number and I'll give you my email address. My US phone number is obviously it's 01 for the US and it's 732-735-6429. And my email address is B Tornberg, TORN as in Nancy, BERG at E3, the number 3, business consultants, plural.com.
Perfect. They'll go in the show notes anyway. But yeah, thank you for sharing that information. Sometimes it's easier to hear it than to read it. So yeah. And so we've covered the book, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to reading your next book. It sounds absolutely fascinating. And if you, as I said, if you can figure out what makes an entrepreneur tick, then you'll rule the world. Trust me.
I'll make sure you get a signed copy.
Perfect. Brad, have you got I know you shared a little bit of wisdom with us earlier on, but would you like to share another snippet of something that will make our day?
Put one foot in front of the other. There's going to be days that are good, there's going to be days that are bad. Don't look at the day, look at the goal. Set your goals, make sure that you have your short-term goals, your intermediate goals, and your long-term goals. And remember, when you hit your goals, you set new goals, because goals are not something that you achieve and then stop. Goals are something that you keep striving for.
Absolutely. Very wise words indeed. Brad, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I wish you the best of luck in your book, and I'm sure that your course will be absolutely phenomenal when it comes out. When you write the next book. You take care now and have fun at the gym.
Thank you, Rose. Take care. Nice to talk with you.
And you.
Talking with the experts.
Thanks for joining me on Talking with the Experts. Make sure you subscribe through your favourite podcast app or on YouTube, and check out my Patreon page for more value for you, or you can buy me a coffee. My name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. I look forward to your company next time when I'm talking with the experts.